$450,000 missing. A heartwarming message revealed the incredible truth of a life-changing gift. In Maplewood, the air crackled with anticipation. The diner was packed, the clattering of plates mingling with the aroma of fresh coffee and home-cooked meals, but everyone's eyes were glued to the television. The words on the screen took a deep breath and unleashed a collective gasp. A local war hero, Mr. Thompson, had passed away, leaving behind a staggering $450,000 intended for the community. It felt like a burst of hope shot straight through the heart of the quaint blue-collar town. For Sarah, a 32-year-old waitress and single mother, that money represented a dream, one where late-night shifts doing dishes didn't mean using her own worn-out sneakers or scouring sale bins for second-hand clothes for her 12-year-old daughter, Lily, and 8-year-old son, Max. As she served coffee and laughs with her signature smile, her heart swelled thinking of what the money could do for families like hers. A fresh start. Maybe the weight on her shoulders could lighten, if just a little, but soon whispers turned to shouts outside the diner. "We could build a center. A place for our youth," one man declared, while another countered sharply, "What about those who really need it? It should go to families in need." The diner had transformed into a battlefield, the chatter echoing with indignation and desperation. Sarah watched the once friendly faces around her twist into strangers. Her heart sank. Anger simmered as friends became foes over the fate of a community gift. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Sarah bit her lip, contemplating the values her late mother instilled in her, the importance of compassion and community. As the debate escalated, her heart raced. Mustering her strength, she stood, clenching a coffee-stained napkin. What would Mr. Thompson want? "He fought for our connection, to uplift us all," she cried, tears glistening in her eyes. "Families like mine need your support. Let us honor his legacy with grace, not division." Just as a hush fell over the crowd, like a moment frozen in time, Sarah found a hidden letter tucked away in the back of the diner. Her hands trembled as she recognized Mr. Thompson's familiar handwriting. The contents pierced through her, his longing for reconciliation with an estranged daughter. The emotion clawed at Sarah, revealing a fragile man weighed down by regret, just like her. This wasn't just about money. This was about healing. Her heart swelled with purpose, a beacon of hope against the night's storm. Invigorated, she turned to her neighbors, ready to bridge the chasm created by fear and distrust. And then, just as she prepared to unveil a pathway toward unity, a voice erupted from the back, spilling secrets like far-off thunder. The room thickened with anticipation. The real story of Mr. Thompson's life, and the lies it had held, lingered in the air like unmined gold. There was a reckoning coming, and Sarah felt it deep in her bones, one that had the power to transform not just her spirit, but the very fabric of Maplewood forever. The diner seemed to hold its breath. The shadows of unresolved conversations danced around them, and Sarah felt the weight of 1,000 eyes on her. She blinked, trying to process the impact of the voice that had interrupted her moment of hope. Who could possibly challenge the sincerity of Mr. Thompson's legacy, the very foundation of what they were discussing? From the back, a figure moved into the light, and with it, the tension escalated. It was Rick, the town's self-proclaimed historian. He had always been eager to share tales of Maplewood's past, but tonight, his features were drawn tight and serious. "Sarah, wait," he called, raising a hand. "You don't know the whole story." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Eyes darted between Sarah and Rick, confusion settling in the air. "What do you mean?" Sarah shot back, a blend of frustration and curiosity swirling inside her. Rick's jaw tightened and he stepped forward, urgency coloring his voice. "Mr. Thompson's daughter is a part of this town's history too. There was a reason for that estrangement. He left behind stories of conflict, betrayal. He had a family, but he also had secrets." Sarah felt a lump in her throat. The words conflict and betrayal echoed louder in her mind. The hope she'd felt moments ago began to fade. "So what? That doesn't help us now." We can't decide how to use this money based on half-truths. Rick insisted, his voice trembling with conviction. If we want to honor him, we must acknowledge all parts of his life, the good and the bad. The diner felt like a ticking clock, every face drawn in uncertainty. The passion that had once filled the room shifted to whispers of doubt. Even the plates clattering and coffee brewing seemed to listen with bated breath. Sarah's thoughts raced. Was this about Mr. Thompson's complicated life? Or about the simple desire to help? But can't we still do something good? Breathe hope? Can't we just focus on families in need? Her voice cracked a plea for understanding. But Rick's blue eyes locked onto hers, unrelenting. Sarah, to unite the town, we need to face the truth. No more band-aids on wounds. I know you want to help, but can we guarantee the money won't just widen divisions instead of healing them? The silence was palpable. Sarah glanced around, reading the expressions of her friends and neighbors. No one dared to speak. They were stuck, frozen between the desire for progress and the fear of uncovering pain. And then, as if a hidden door had cracked open, a woman's voice emerged from the crowd. I knew Mr. Thompson's daughter. The chatter dimmed into an eager but uncertain hush. She's been looking for answers just like he was. Sarah's heart raced. Could this be the key to understanding? Could the past truly connect with the present in a way that might bring her community together? As Sarah took a deep breath, determination surged within her. What if they could find her? A sense of urgency rippled through her mind. They could create real change not just with money, but by healing broken stories. Then let us find her, Sarah declared, her voice cutting through the thick air with newfound energy. Before we decide anything, we'll bring her here. We need to know the truth for all of us. As the crowd erupted into a frenzy of agreement and questions, Sarah felt the electricity of potential course through her veins. This could ignite a transformation beyond anything she had dreamed of. Little did she know, their journey towards reconciliation would unravel deeper secrets, ones that would test their unity like never before. Would they be able to face the truth together? Or would it tear them apart? The atmosphere in the diner shifted dramatically. Instead of simmering whispers of doubt, excited conversations erupted like fireworks. It was as if a spark had set off a chain reaction in the hearts of all present. The townsfolk, once hesitant, were now buzzing with ideas and possibilities. Rick was still caught up in the moment but kept his focus on Sarah. We have to tread carefully, he warned. Finding her isn't just about unearthing a story. It's about confronting the past, something we may not be ready for. Sarah nodded, her heart racing with every idea that flitted through her mind. Would the daughter even want to meet them? What if the unresolved issues between her and Mr. Thompson lingered like ghosts? But then she stopped, her thoughts locking onto a single truth. They didn't have a choice. They could shy away from the chance to heal. Let us start by reaching out to those who might know her, Sarah suggested. There must be someone with a connection to the Thompson family. The flicker of hope in her voice was unmistakable. The urgency was palpable. The townsfolk quickly coalesced around her, voices overlapping as they shared names, old contacts, and leads. As the ideas flew, Sarah caught a glimpse of a bright red object peeking out from a nearby booth. It turned out to be an old scrapbook, one that seemed out of place among the coffee-stained tables of the diner. As she grabbed it and opened it, the pages unfolded like the secrets it likely held. Old photos spilled out weddings, birthdays, and family gatherings. Mr. Thompson was there, always smiling, alongside a young girl who looked eerily familiar. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the daughter? Pointing to the photo, she exclaimed, That's her. That's her. The hubbub quieted momentarily as Rick leaned in closer, studying the picture with furrowed brows. Where did you find this? He asked, peering at the image with curiosity. A waitress, who had been watching over the crowd, stepped forward. That belonged to my late grandmother. She was Mr. Thompson's neighbor, and they shared stories all the time. Excitement rippled through Sarah. Do you have any contact information? We need to reach her. The waitress nodded, pulling out her phone. Let me see what I can do. As she dialed, the room filled with anxious anticipation. Sarah could feel the weight of hope pressing down, but the specter of doubt hung on the edges of her thoughts. Was this truly the connection they needed? Once the call ended, the waitress looked up, her eyes wide. She's in town. She just moved back a week ago. I'll give you her number, but I can't promise she'll want to talk. Rick's brow furrowed again. It may not be smooth sailing, he cautioned. We have no clue what wounds are still open. We won't know unless we try, Sarah replied, her determination unwavering. Mr. Thompson's legacy deserves this chance. We all do. As the diner filled with hopeful chatter once more, Sarah felt a sense of unity she hadn't expected. They were coming together, fueled by the promise of uncovering truth and healing broken ties. But just then, a quiet voice emerged from the back, laced with skepticism. What if she doesn't want to be found? What if this just opens old wounds? A chill rushed through the room. The question hung like a storm cloud over their little gathering. Was hope enough to carry them through whatever lay ahead? As Sarah looked around at the faces of her friends and neighbors, she saw a mixture of hope and fear. She took a deep breath, the weight of the moment heavy on her chest. The path was fraught with uncertainty, but one thought pulsed through her mind. The truth must come first. Then we're not done, Sarah finally asserted, her voice steady. We'll face whatever comes next. Together. And with that unyielding resolution, they plunged into the uncharted territory ahead, unaware of the hidden truths that could either bond them or shatter their newfound unity. Would facing the past bring clarity? Or would the scars still ache? The sun hung low in the sky as Sarah stepped outside the diner, the crisp evening air carrying hints of autumn. She felt a strange mix of anticipation and trepidation. Her heart was racing as she considered the task ahead. They were so close, yet still so far. Rick followed her out, adjusting his jacket against the chill. So what's the plan now? He asked, glancing around, as if the answer might appear in the gathering dusk. We wait for the waitress to send us the number, Sarah replied. Then we reach out to her. But I think we need to prepare for the conversation as much as we can. Prepare how? Rick pressed, leaning against the side of the diner, arms crossed. We need to think about what to say. What if she is hurt or angry? Or worse, what if she doesn't even remember her father? Rick ran a hand through his hair, sighing. That's a lot of what ifs, Sarah. But you're right. We should have a plan. If she comes around, we need to be ready to handle her feelings. The townsfolk began to drift out of the diner, excitement still lingering in their conversations. Some were discussing old memories of Mr. Thompson, while others offered their own ideas on how to ease the potential discomfort. A fragile sense of community formed around this shared purpose, each person willing to support Sarah and Rick in their endeavor. A sudden ping broke through Sarah's reverie. The waitress had sent the number. Her heart raced again. This was it. She held her breath, looking at Rick, who stared back at her wide-eyed. Are you ready? He asked, an edge of urgency in his voice. I think so, she replied, though doubt crept in. Would she be able to convey the gravity of the situation? What if it all went wrong? With trembling fingers, she dialed the number, her mind racing. Each ring felt like an eternity, and just as she was about to hang up, a voice answered. Hello? Sarah felt the air leave her lungs for a moment. Hi, is this Emily Thompson? Yes, the voice replied, cautious yet curious. Your father was Mr. Thompson, right? The name felt heavy on her tongue. I'm Sarah, and I'm calling from Pinewood. We really need to talk if you have a moment. Emily hesitated. Talk about what? About your father. About the memories, the legacy he left. There are so many people who would love to connect with you. Silence stretched on the line. Sarah's heart beat loudly in her ears as she braced for the reply. I don't know. It's a lot to take in, Emily finally said, and there was an unmistakable tremor in her voice. I can only imagine, Sarah replied gently, but we all have questions. And he deserves to be remembered. The line crackled with silence again. Sarah felt sweat trickling down her back as she anticipated rejection. Would Emily even want to hear what they had to say? Can we meet? Emily finally asked, her voice small. I don't know what to make of this, but I'd like to understand. Relief washed over Sarah, though she could still feel the weight of uncertainty lingering. Yes, we can arrange something. How about tomorrow? Okay, that works, Emily agreed, but Sarah could sense she was still wrestling with her emotions. After arranging the details, Sarah hung up the phone, her heart a mix of hope and fear. Rick glanced over. What did she say? She wants to meet, Sarah breathed. But she is scared. We all are, Rick replied, placing a hand on her shoulder. This can go either way. But if we come this far together, then maybe just maybe something good can come from this. As they stood outside, the sun slowly sinking beneath the horizon, a question loomed over them. Was this meeting the answer they all needed? Or would it uncover wounds that could never heal? And with that thought, they knew it was only the beginning of a journey that could change everything. What truths lay hidden just beneath the surface? The next day dawned with an overcast sky, the clouds hanging heavy as if aware of the weighty discussions soon to unfold. Sarah stood in front of her mirror, running her fingers through her hair, trying to smooth out the creases of doubt that had formed overnight. She felt every emotion pile onto her like a solid weight on her chest. Today could change everything. The diner was buzzing with talk about the impending meeting. It felt as if the whole town was holding its breath, united in this delicate moment. Rick arrived early, his face drawn tight with concern, though he tried to mask it with a smile. "You ready?" he asked, and Sarah could see in his eyes he was just as conflicted. "I'm nervous," she admitted, wringing her hands. Rick stepped closer. "Nervous is normal. It means you care." They headed to the park where they had agreed to meet Emily, choosing the place for its calm atmosphere, with its swaying trees and soft rustle of leaves. As they approached, Sarah noticed a figure sitting on a bench, a young woman with tousled hair and eyes that seemed forever searching, already reflecting a storm of emotions. "Emily." "Hi, Emily," Sarah called out, her voice shaky yet determined. Emily looked up, surprise and uncertainty flickering across her face. "You're Sarah," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah. And this is Rick," Sarah introduced him, noting how Emily's gaze shifted to Rick, then back to her like a pendulum caught in a moment of indecision. "Thank you for coming," Sarah offered, her tone wrapping around the words like a comforting blanket. "We know this is a lot to take in." Emily glanced down at her hands, twisting a bracelet around her wrist. I don't understand how you all remember him." "'Cause he meant something to us," Rick jumped in. "Your father was more than just a name to this town. He had a huge impact on so many lives." Emily nodded slowly, her eyes shimmering with tears. "But I don't know anything about him. I don't even have memories." Sarah felt that familiar tug of empathy. "That's why we're here. To share stories, to help you remember him in your own way." The three of them remained silent for a moment, the heaviness of the situation settling in the air. Birds chirped softly in the distance, a stark contrast to the tension among them. "What stories?" Emily finally asked, her voice quaking. "What if they're not the stories I want to hear?" "Some stories may hurt," Rick said gently, "but they're still part of who he was. And they're part of you too." Emily's brow furrowed as she absorbed his words. "What if he wasn't the person you all think he was?" "Then we'll go through that together," Sarah assured her. "We won't sugarcoat anything, but you deserve to know the truth." As the conversation began to flow, stories began spilling out, tales of laughter, grief, kindness. Each word built a bridge from her father's past to the present moment. Emily listened, her expression shifting as she took it all in. Suddenly, her phone chimed, cutting through the atmosphere like a knife, pulling her back into reality. She glanced at it, anxiety painting her features. "I'm sorry, I need to take this," she muttered and stood up. Watching her, Sarah felt a pang of worry. What if Emily couldn't handle everything they had just shared? What if this was too much for her? Rick squeezed Sarah's hand reassuringly. "We're here for her no matter what happens next," he whispered. The park became a quiet oasis, the tension thick as they waited for Emily to return. Yet, Sarah's heart wasn't just racing from anxiety, there was also a flicker of hope. It felt like they were on the edge of discovery as Emily walked back. Something had changed in her gaze. There was a determination joining the uncertainty, like a spark waiting to ignite. And before Sarah could ask what happened on the phone, Emily took a deep breath and said, "I think I'm ready to know the truth, all of it. But there's something important I need to tell you first." The air crackled with anticipation as everyone held their breath. What revelation awaited them? Would it break open the floodgates of understanding or plunge them into darkness? Emily's heart raced in that charged moment, the weight of her phone call pressing upon her like a looming storm cloud. She could feel Sarah and Rick's eyes upon her, the steady pulse of their concern mingling with her own anxiety. Uncertainty coiled within her, but it was now entwined with an unexpected surge of resolve. "I found something," Emily started, her voice steadier than she felt. When I was clearing out his old things, I came across a box in the attic. I thought it was just junk, but then I saw something curious. Rick leaned in, eyes narrowing with interest, while Sarah's breath hitched with anticipation. I found a letter. It was addressed to me, Emily continued, her voice quiet as she wrestled with the myriad emotions swirling within her. But it wasn't just any letter. It talked about a gift he had set aside for me. A gift? Sarah echoed, looking hopeful yet cautious. What kind of gift? Emily took a deep breath, summoning the courage to share what felt like a tangled web of emotions. He wrote about a fund, something he started before he, left us. The letter said there's money he wanted me to use to build my future. It's $450,000. The air hung heavy with her words, the enormity of the revelation wrapping around them like a thick fog. Rick's brows shot up, and Sarah's face transformed from confusion to pure unadulterated shock. That's a lot of money, Rick said, his voice steady, trying to absorb the implications. But why didn't you know about it before? I don't know. Emily shook her head, tears welling up again. He wanted me to find it when I was ready, I guess. But instead of excitement, I just feel overwhelmed. Who knows about this? Sarah exchanged a look with Rick, both searching for the right way forward. Have you told anyone else? No, Emily huffed, wiping at her eyes. I wanted to process it myself first before calling you both. But there's more. The warning was there in her tone, heavy with the gravity of the moment. He mentioned something about a truth tied to the gift. Something that could change how I see him or even how I see myself. Rick's brow furrowed, confusion mixing with concern. What do you mean? What kind of truth? I don't know yet, Emily exclaimed, frustration coloring her voice. The letter didn't explain. Just that I'd have to do some digging. He wanted me to investigate to uncover the past. Sarah leaned forward, sensing the emotional tide rising once again. Emily, this is a first step. We can help you sift through the truth. You're not alone in this. Yes, Rick chimed in supportive. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Remember, you deserve to know everything. Emily nodded, the knot in her stomach gradually loosening. For the first time, it felt like she wasn't just stepping into darkness, she was shedding light on secrets that had lurked in shadows for far too long. But then a sudden thought gripped her, finalizing the circle of uncertainty. What if the truth isn't what I hope for? She whispered, vulnerability cracking through her brave facade. What if it tears down everything I thought I knew about him? The silence deepened, stretching taut like a string ready to snap. Emily's question hung in the air, heavy and daunting. As they pondered the weight of the unknown, Emily's phone buzzed once more, startling them all. What if someone else knows what he was hiding? She murmured, her fingers idly brushing over the glowing screen. Everyone turned to her, holding their breath collectively, as a new wave of concern washed over them. This journey was just beginning, and it seemed to offer more questions than answers. Was the truth truly waiting? Or was it a fragile thing, threatening to unravel everything they knew? What if we uncover something that changes everything and not in the way we expect? Sarah whispered, heart racing at the uncertainty swirling around them. Emily took a deep breath, her heart racing again as she looked down at her phone. There was a message waiting, lit up in bright blue. Suddenly it felt like the walls of the room closed in on her, pressing down as she fought the urge to pick it up right away. She looked at Sarah and Rick, who were both waiting with bated breath, their faces mirroring her anxiety. Should I open it? She asked, a tremor creeping into her voice. Rick shrugged, but Sarah leaned forward. You have to know what it says. Could be something important, maybe it's a clue. With shaking hands, Emily lifted her phone. She felt the weight of their eyes on her as she hesitated for just a moment longer, then quickly opened the message. The words appeared on the screen, startling her. Emily, please meet me at the cafe where we used to go. I know something about your dad's past. It was from Tom, an old family friend she hadn't spoken to in ages. Her throat dry, she felt a swell of hope but also a pang of dread. It's from Tom. He wants to meet me, says he knows something about Dad. Rick's eyes pierced through hers. Do you trust him? A multitude of memories rushed in. Tom was always around, sharing laughter and stories over cupcakes in that little cafe. But time had a way of distorting old friendships. I don't know, she admitted, guilt scrunching her stomach. We drifted apart after everything. I think you should go, Sarah said softly. Could be a piece of the puzzle. Emily nodded slowly, her resolve solidifying. Okay, I'll go. The three of them made their way to the cafe in a silence thick with anticipation. As they walked, Emily could feel her heart beating louder with each passing second. She replayed her dad's letter in her mind. What if what Tom had to say was linked to that truth? Arriving at the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee and baked goods wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Emily spotted Tom in the corner booth, his hair streaked with silver, sadness etched onto his face. As their eyes met, she felt a rush of emotions, complicated, tangled emotions. Emily, he said softly, gesturing her over. She took a deep breath and approached, each step heavier than the last. Hi, Tom, she managed, slipping into the seat across from him. The cafe hummed around them, distant chatter a backdrop to the tension that settled heavily between them. I got your message, she said, her voice breaking slightly. What did you mean about my dad? Tom leaned forward. It's not easy to talk about, but there are things you need to know, things I wished I had told you sooner. His eyes held a deep sadness, and Emily felt the gravity of the moment bearing down on her shoulders. She could hardly breathe as he began to unfold a story, words washing over her like waves crashing against the shore, each one making her heart race faster. Memories she had cherished began to crack, shifting the ground beneath her. Your dad had secrets, Emily. Secrets that could change how you see him and even how you see yourself. With every word spoken, a knot of fear and anticipation tightened inside her. What had he hidden? What could it possibly be? Tom paused, searching her gaze. Are you prepared for what I'm about to say? Those words hung in the air, fragile and explosive, urging Emily's pulse to quicken. Every answer slipped further from her grasp, dancing on the edge of revelation. Will this truth tear me apart? She thought, the weight of expectation heavy on her heart. In that moment, she understood that her journey into the past had merely begun. But was she ready for the path that lay ahead? I need to know everything, she whispered, fear battling with an unquenchable thirst for truth. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that, perhaps what came next could shatter everything she ever believed about family and love. Tom took a deep breath, his gaze steady on Emily. The moment felt surreal. The cafe was bustling around them, yet it was as if they were in their own bubble, enveloped in silence and anticipation. Your father, he began, his voice low and measured, was involved in something far beyond what you know. He didn't just work at the local bank. He was entangled in a financial crisis that affected a lot of families, including his own. Emily's heart sank. What do you mean? I don't understand. Years ago, he was involved in managing funds that went missing, $450,000 to be exact. Created a lot of chaos, a lot of hurt. He took the blame for it. Emily, Tom explained, his voice carrying a weight that made her chest tighten. He wanted to protect you and your mother. In a way, he thought it was better that you lived without that burden. Panic swirled in Emily's mind. The stories of her father's integrity, his strength, all felt like ash in her mouth now. Why didn't he tell me? Why keep this secret? Because it wasn't his to share. He thought he was shielding you from the pain of knowing how people looked at him, how they looked at your family after it all came crashing down. Tom answered, eyes reflecting deep sorrow mingled with empathy. He believed it was safer for you to think of him as your idol, the man who everything revolved around, not the man who made mistakes. Emily sat back, the floor seeming to shift under her feet. Memories of home, the laughter during family dinners. Her dad's reassuring smile started to collapse like a house of cards. But what happened to the money? Was he ever found guilty? The anguish in her voice felt raw, cutting through the air between them. No, Tom said firmly. After a long investigation, it was discovered that a colleague had embezzled the funds. Your father was exonerated, but the damage was done. The guilt stayed with him. That's why he never talked about it. That's why everything changed. Emily could barely process what she was hearing. Her father, the man she revered, had been swallowed whole by a lie. So, all this time I thought I was proud of him and he felt he failed us? Tears brimmed in her eyes, fighting to spill over. My life feels like a lie, Tom. I want to scream, yet I want to hold him. To understand. Thomas' eyes softened. I know it's a lot to take in. And this is your choice. To confront this truth or let it be buried like your father wanted. She fought against the knot in her throat. The truth was a double-edged sword and she didn't know which way it would cut. Is that why you reached out? To tell me I should forgive him? No, he replied, shaking his head gently. I wanted you to know that your father was human. He made mistakes, but he loved you more than he loved himself. You need to decide how to carry this truth moving forward. The weight of Tom's words enveloped her. Emily stared into the depth of his eyes, seeking answers, clarity in a world that felt suddenly so cloudy. Would uncovering this secret set her free, or bind her to a past she wasn't sure she wanted to embrace? Tom, she murmured, wrestling with the flood of emotions. What do I do now? I think you know the answer deep down. You need to find your father and confront him with this revelation, he said softly, as if their conversation just set in motion a series of events neither one could foresee. As Emily's mind raced with thoughts and possibilities, she could feel the edges of her life shifting. Was she ready to unravel the threads of her past? To seek out the man who carried such weight? Will I still see him as my hero? She whispered, fighting tears. Tom exhaled slowly, a look of understanding flashing across his features. That's something only you can discover. Emily took a deep breath. The journey ahead loomed large before her, a tangled web of truth and love, fear and hope. Could she ever look at her father the same way again? What awaited her on this shadowy road into the unknown? And just as she was about to ask Tom another question, the cafe door swung open, and a figure she never expected to see stepped inside. Her heart dropped with a jolt. Emily, the voice called out, igniting a new wave of anxiety within her. Dad? Emily's heart raced, the sound of her father's voice echoing in her mind like a thunderous storm. She turned slowly, her palms sweating, and found him standing just inside the cafe. He looked older, worn by time and guilt, and the familiarity of his face clashed violently with everything she just learned. Dad, she breathed, barely able to get the word out. Her world had flipped on its axis, and now he stood before her, a living reminder of the shattered image she had of him. Emily, he opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The cafe buzzed around them, yet it felt like all the noise faded into a dull roar, leaving only the two of them in a dizzying silence. Tom was still by her side, but now he felt like a stranger in this unexpected reunion. Emily barely registered his presence. Her focus remained fixed on the father she longed to embrace and yet felt had betrayed her trust. Her mind raced through all the tumultuous feelings whirling inside her: love, betrayal, confusion. Why are you here? Emily finally managed to ask, her voice trembling. Do you even know how long I've needed to talk to you? His face fell, and for a moment she saw a flicker of pain cross his features. I didn't think you'd want to see me. I thought it would be easier if I just stayed away, but I've missed you every day. She longed for the comfort of those words, but they felt empty now, wrapped in the shadows of secrets kept for too long. What am I supposed to feel? She managed. All this time I thought you were my hero, and now I find out about the lies and how you took the blame for something you didn't do. He stepped closer, his eyes pleading as he searched her face. Emily, I never wanted you to carry that burden. I thought I could protect you by staying silent. I never meant to keep the truth from you. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes, threatening to spill over. But you did, Dad. You kept me in the dark. Everything I believed about you is shattered. I don't know who you are anymore. He sighed deeply, the weight of all those years pressing down on him. I'm still the same man, Emily. I made a mistake by thinking I could shield you. I see that now. I should have trusted you to handle the truth. I was wrong. A deep ache settled in Emily's chest. I just saw you as larger than life, someone untouchable. And now all I see is failure. Her father reached out a hand, but she flinched, unsure if she could let him in. He paused, the sadness in his eyes making it clear he felt her hesitation. I want you to understand one thing. I love you. Everything I did to protect you. Will you let me explain? A knot formed in her throat. Could she bear to hear his side of the story? Would it bring her closer to understanding or drive her further away? The cafe felt suffocating, the world outside buzzing with normalcy while her heart was caught in turmoil. After what felt like an eternity, she finally nodded, granting him the chance to speak. Dad, if we're going to do this, she said, her voice steadier now, you need to tell me everything. No more secrets. No more lies. A flicker of hope crossed his face and he nodded. Promise. I'll tell you everything. As he started to speak, Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. She knew they were about to dive into territory that could change everything between them. But what lay at the end of this moment? Will he be the father she hoped for, or the stranger that emerged from the shadows? In that charged moment, her next question hung in the air as the cafe buzzed on around them. A battle of past and present awaiting a resolution neither of them could predict. As Mr. Thompson's voice broke through the cafe's ambient noise, Emily held her breath, teetering on the edge of a precipice. The path before her was tangled, full of sharp twists and turns. Nothing would ever be the same. "Emily, I know I let you down," he began, eyes brimming with regret. "The day I learned about the missing funds, it shook me to my core. I was terrified. Terrified for you, for your mother, for what people would say. When the truth surfaced about that colleague, it was too late to go back. The damage was done." The whispers, the doubts. Emily clenched her fists under the table. He was laying it all out there, but it felt like a band-aid over a gaping wound. "You could have told me, Dad. You could have explained. I thought by hiding the truth I was protecting you." His voice cracked. "But I see now it was a big mistake, a coward's choice. You deserve to know the truth about who I am and what really happened. Did you think I wouldn't be able to handle it? That I wouldn't forgive you?" He shook his head, visibly pained. "I prayed that you'd never have to understand the complexities of my failures. But it seems I've underestimated you, Emily. You're stronger than you know." A lump formed in Emily's throat. Here was the father she needed, the honest one, stripped of pretense and finally facing the consequences of his choices. She fought against the rush of emotions welling within her. Forgiveness felt tantalizingly close yet maddeningly out of reach. "I thought you were my hero," she murmured, meeting his gaze head-on. "That you could do no wrong. But now you see I'm human," he interrupted gently. "I made decisions that I thought would keep you safe, but instead I built walls. I want to take down those walls." Outside, the clouds began to part, rays of sunlight spilling through, illuminating the space and casting warm glows around them. It felt like a sign, the first soft hint of hope breaking through the storm. "Emily," he continued, "the $450,000 fund was meant to secure a future for you. A chance for you to chase your dreams. But I know now that it wasn't enough to fix how I failed you as a father." "You don't have to make it right by throwing money at problems," she replied, the words tumbling out, empowered. "I need you. I always have. I want to know you. The real you with all your flaws." Tears streamed down her cheeks, and for the first time she felt something shift. It was like a crack in the thick wall of silence between them, opening a space for understanding to slip through. "Can we start over?" she asked, voice trembling but resolute. "I'd like nothing more," he said, his face radiating fleeting hope. "I'll do whatever it takes to regain your trust. Just give me that chance." As the weight of heavy words filled the air, Emily felt lighter, as though each confession was a step forward into the light. "Together," she affirmed, reaching across the table. He took her hand, the touch grounding them both in the swirling uncertainty. Meanwhile, Tom observed from a distance, a gentle smile breaking through his thoughtful demeanor. This was healing. Not just for Emily but for a community that had also felt the ripples of Mr. Thompson's choices. The honesty that had eluded for years was finally returning, like promises waiting to be fulfilled. "I want everyone in Maplewood to hear this," Emily announced, her voice gaining strength. "We can turn this around. Not just for us but for everyone who felt the fallout. We need to talk, and not just behind closed doors." Her father nodded slowly, understanding finally dawning in his eyes, as if the potential for redemption flickered above their heads like a spark igniting a fire. They began to share stories about triumphs, love, regret, and the lessons learned along the way. Outside the cafe, a gathering crowd stood, drawn by the words echoing through the open windows, whispers of healing taking root. Back at the diner, Sarah and Rick exchanged hopeful glances as they caught wind of the unfolding journey. The ripples of truth began to weave together the community, shedding light on past shadows and illuminating the shared humanity they had been craving for. As the cafe burst with laughter, heartfelt words and connections, Emily knew they had a long way to go. But today, they took the first stride towards healing, a chance for families to reconnect and communities to blossom. And outside, the sun shone brighter, as if the universe itself was celebrating the chance to begin again. "Together," Emily whispered again, resolve swelling within her. "Together." And her father nodded, promising to be there every step of the way. The warmth of that moment felt electric, sweeping through the town like a breath of fresh air. They had taken the first step, one that reunited bonds long broken, and forged new paths towards understanding. It was a place to start, a place of hope, and there was no turning back. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will light up your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your love for the journey we just shared. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. I want to hear from you. And please, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through your actions.